Okay. All right. Good morning. Happy rainy, nasty, depressing Monday. It's kind of rough to get motivated to get up and going on a Monday like this, right? Okay. All right. So I do want to talk to you about a few things, a couple of reminders, announcements, things like that. Before we jump into it. So here's what we'll do today. We'll talk about your bell ringer question. We'll hit section 3, IDs and SQs, section 3 in the packets. I am going to try and squeeze in a little bit of us going over notes and new info that are in your Google Slides for this unit. I think one of the biggest things is, as far as reminders go, that we are officially into the second 6 weeks. So we've got a third done and we got 2/3 left to go. So congrats for making it thus far. We technically are 7 weeks in. So we are a week into the second 6 weeks. Report cards, I think, are supposed to be mailed out Friday, if I remember correctly, from the email from Mr. Wheat. So that is coming. Keep in mind that if you don't want to have to take the final exam, that you got to keep that grade to an A or a B. C, D's, and F's all have to take the final exam. So hopefully that's motivation, that if your grade is not where you want it to be, that you've got the remainder, the last 12 weeks to get it up, and hopefully not let it fall between now and then. Okay. All right, so this week, just like last week, is a little weird in the schedule because we kind of hit the pause button tomorrow. No live Zoom sessions tomorrow because the juniors are testing. And one reason is that a lot of teachers are having to help give the test. And another reason is that, well, for obvious reasons, it's not fair to juniors testing, that they also are going to be required to do a bunch of work after a long day of testing. So, especially since my classes are like half and half. I've got half juniors and half seniors, and it would not be fair for my juniors to miss out on our regular session. So no live sessions tomorrow. Use tomorrow to get caught up. We got messed up last week, so it kind of works out. Since we technically didn't have any live Zooms, I still did a Zoom last week to go ahead and record. Me going over section 2 in the IDs and SQs, section 2 in the packets. So if you did not take time to watch that last Thursday or Friday, please make sure that you take time either today or tomorrow. Tomorrow obviously would be a great opportunity if you're not a junior especially. To get caught up. So I am going to move due dates back. I had somebody bring that up and point that out to me during second block. So I've made myself a note. I didn't have time to do it because I was working on attendance stuff in between Zooms. So I've made myself a note to go and move due dates back. So I will be moving back the due dates for everything. There will not be anything due tomorrow because we won't, together as a class, we will not have had time to finish going through all 4 sections of everything. So I will move due dates back. Today we're going into section 3. So again, if you're off a little bit, you did not get section 2 stuff done either Thursday or Friday of last week, just skip it, do section 3 today, and then either do section 2 tomorrow or take time to get caught up on it today. So either way, depending on whether or not you're a junior, that might impact your reasoning behind things. Okay, all right. Let's talk about your bell ringer. Make sure you don't have any questions for the World War I project. Today's bell ringer question is, what ally power pulled out of the war in 1917 and why? And again, that was something that I covered in the video that I did last Thursday, whether or not you watched it Thursday or Friday of last week. But I did go over it in the notes before I got into the IDs and packet, talking about it was Russia. Russia pulls out in 1917 because they had their Russian Revolution. They feel like, obviously, if they are fighting a revolution, that they do not need to be involved in a world war as well. And also, like 80% of the citizens don't support being in the war anyway. So they do pull out of the war, which is perfect timing because that is when the United States makes our entry into the war. Not that those things happened at the same time because of that, but that's just how it worked out. Okay. All right. So that's your bell ringer. I'm going to talk very briefly about your World War I project, just to make sure everybody's okay. You don't have any questions about it. Again, I will be moving the due date back because it was originally supposed to be due Wednesday. I am going to be moving that back to give everybody a little bit more time to get that done. So my apologies. I know there's a few people that have actually jumped in and gotten it done already. So yay, go you. But if not, for fairness across the board, moving that back. Okay, so you only have to have a minimum of 10 Google Slides. And 2 of those slides are going to be taken care of pretty easily because one of those slides is going to be, one of those slides is your title slide. Super easy to take care of that. And then the last one is going to be your works cited slide. I do want it to be an MLA format. If you need help with correctly citing your sources, not just copying and pasting the URL, but if you need help correctly citing your sources, citationmachine.net is a great resource. You just take it, you plug in your information, and it does it for you. And all you have to do is copy and paste it to put on your Google slide. So that is super easy to do. Okay. Which means you only have 8 slides that are going to have information in a picture. I do want you to have at least 1 picture per slide, and then give me a couple sentences or bullet points of information. You have the freedom to pick your topic. I did put down some suggestions, but again, you can pick out something else, whether you want to focus on weapons, on a specific battle, if you want to work on, specifically women or minorities or segregated units or life on the home front, or a person. So, or a specific country. So there's all these options as to what topic. Or you can dabble and do a little bit of everything, which would be super easy to get it done in if you wanted to do a different topic per slide and just have it be on World War I in general. Okay, so you've got all these different options. I do apologize. I know the due date's wrong. That was last semester's due date, and I just didn't go in and change that. So I apologize for any confusion that might have caused. But I am moving the due date for that, as well as your IDs and packets. All right, before we jump into this, any questions, comments, or concerns about what's coming up, what tomorrow is going to be like, or any of the assignments that are due? And if everybody's okay, I'll make sure I'm watching the chat. But let's go ahead and get into it. I'm going to share my screen so I can talk to you about a few things. And I hope it works because I couldn't get it to work for me during second. It wouldn't. There we go. The bar wouldn't move out of the way for whatever reason. It's working now. Well, I say that and then it won't let me click on anything. Sorry. Let me try one more time. It was giving me a fit this morning when I was trying to share my screen and get it to move up so I could, dang it, it did it again. All right, 3rd time's the charm. If it doesn't work this time, then I might be giving up. Okay, so far so good. All right, so I'm going to run through a few things really fast. If there's something on here that you see that I don't talk about, it's because I talked about it in the video I did last week. So again, just a reminder, make sure you go back and watch it so you can get caught up if you didn't watch it Thursday or Friday of last week. Okay, so I'm going to run through a few things because a few of your questions on your ID sheet talk about this. What is the type of fighting that we're doing? We are using trench warfare during World War I. Here's a couple of the pieces of new technology. We've got cannons, zeppelins, machine guns, poisonous gas. Obviously, we developed gas masks because of that. Tanks, airplanes, barbed wire, to divide up the land in between trenches. what we call no man's land. And if you want a great visual, I would highly recommend some of the movies that I listed in the extra credit project opportunity. War Horse, which is, if you love animals, don't watch it because it'll just rip your soul to pieces. But anyway, War Horse, All Quiet on the Western Front, 1917 is the newest World War I movie. I think one of the ones I didn't put on there, Legend of the Falls, just because it's rated R, it's a little racy, and it doesn't focus on just the war in general. It focuses on a family's thing, but it does briefly show interaction in World War I. I'm blanking. Oh, Flyboys. Flyboys is another good example of a World War I movie. That one obviously focuses more on being in airplanes, but still shows you a good visual of the trench warfare. Poor medical care, shell shock, which we would probably call PTSD today, but the 24/7, 365 constant bombing is going to cause a lot of mental issues. They called it shell shock. Trench foot, again, you're living in these trenches. That's your bed, your dining room table. I mean, you are living there 24/7. So if it rains and you have like 2 feet of rain that you're having to stand in, you know how your fingers start to prune up when you're in the water too long, when you go like swimming or in your shower or whatever. Think about that and it being 20 times worse than that. And that's what trench foot is. Like the skin becomes so loose that you could like literally peel it off the bone and muscle. Like it's awful. It's a painful experience, but it's trench foot. Lice. Again, you're not showering or anything. Rats the size of cats, because these rats are eating dead bodies and you know, they're feeding pretty good. It's gross, but that's reality. All right, propaganda posters. Boys and girls, you can help your Uncle Sam win the war, save your quarters, and buy savings stamps. Again, that's a way for you to loan the government money, and you can cash in later, make money on your money, get that interest. So all of these are in your IDs, the War Industries Board, Victory Gardens. We get daylight savings time actually comes from World War I, trying to give those farmers more daylight to get crops in. Again, Liberty bonds or stamps. I just talked about that. There's more propaganda posters. On the job for victory, encouraging those that are having to work at home. Sow the seeds of victory and plant your own vegetable garden. So whatever you don't eat and buy from the grocery store, we can send to our soldiers overseas. This is where the Uncle Sam I Want You recruitment poster pops up. Let's see. Espionage and Sedition Act. You see there's a new Supreme Court case, Schnick versus the U.S., that during a time of war, you cannot discourage anyone from joining up and volunteering to be part of the military. Espionage is a fancy way of saying spying. So any spies, any immigrants, anybody speaking out against the government can either be thrown in jail or deported. All of these are wartime measures. African Americans are put in segregated units. Women and minorities are also taking the jobs left by millions of volunteers and draftees. And here's something interesting that, COVID-19 is not the first pandemic or epidemic to hit. At the end of World War I, the Spanish flu breaks out. And of course, soldiers are carrying it home with them to all the different countries that they're going back to. A fourth of the United States falls victim. 500,000 people die. As many as 40 million worldwide die from it. And a fourth of the United States, that is like saying the whole entire East Coast, from Maine down to Florida, all the way over to Kentucky and Texas and straight down that line. So a fourth of the United States gets it. That is a ton of people. 500,000 die from it. So we are not strangers to a pandemic. If you see this picture, you see 2 out of the 3 are wearing face coverings. So again, what we're experiencing is not a first time thing. You know, wearing a mask, staying 6 feet apart, quarantining yourself. This is not new. All right. History does repeat itself. Case in point. All right. We're going to look at one last and final thing, and then we're going to get back at it. We're going to talk about the peace plan to end the war. Armistice, which means ceasefire. The fighting stops November of 1918. All right, let's look at just a few things here, really super quick. All right, Wilson creates what he calls his 14-point peace plan. He does want world peace. He doesn't really care who wins. He just wants world peace. And some of the goals include freedom of the seas, reduce armaments, which means you cut down on your weapon supply. He says things like this will help us to eliminate reasons for future wars. And the question is, had we listened to him, would there have been a World War II? You know? Anyway, something to think about. So anyway, he says no secret treaties, freedom of the seas, lower tariffs, reduce armaments, self-determination, which is one of your IDs, by the way, allows people of the same ethnic background to create their own countries. He does create the League of Nations, which later becomes the United Nations that we still have today, which is just a world peacekeeping organization. The Big Four, Wilson representing the United States, King George representing Great Britain, Crémaillou representing France, and Orlando representing Italy. You see a picture of the Big Four here in the Google slide. The Central Powers is left out, obviously, because they were the losing side. Germany is left out because they do end up leaving the war in 1917. The Allies want to punish Germany and blame Germany for the war. They were the ones to officially begin the fighting. So, of course, that's where they want to place blame. And so it is the Treaty of Versailles that ends World War I. And we'll talk, I might kind of flip back to this in just a second. Well, I'll tell you what, we're going to stay on it. Pull up your IDs and SQs. We're doing section 3 today. Again, I did section 2 Thursday, so go back and watch the video if you did not watch it Thursday or Friday. So we're on section 3 for the IDs and SQs. And in the packet, we're looking at 18 through 23. I am going to leave my slides up because some of the answers are in this slide so that you can see how to spell things. Question 18 says, what new technologies were introduced in World War I? Somebody give me some of the new pieces that I shared a minute ago. What are some of the new pieces of technology? Chris, give me something that I named as a new piece of technology.
Barbed wire.
Barbed wire. Excellent. Ian, give me another piece of new technology.
Gas mask.
What goes along with gas mask?
Chemical warfare. Mustard gas, I think.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. Chemical warfare, mustard gas, tear gas, and of course the development of gas mask. Awesome. Lexi, do you remember another one? Nope. Okay, let me try Isaac. Isaac, what's another new piece of technology for World War I?
I don't remember if you named it off or not, but towards the end of World War I, tanks were being invented.
Perfect. Yes, tanks. I'll speed it up and get the rest of them. Machine guns, airplanes, and those are just to name a few. Submarines, that's another one. All right, we got to move on. Question 19 says, why was the American victory in the Argonne Forest important? First American victory. First American victory overseas. All right, 20. Why did Pershing want to keep American soldiers in their own units? John Pershing is part of the American Expeditionary Force. To keep morale up. That's your answer. To keep morale up. Hey, Ian, do me a favor. Will you mute yourself?
Okay.
There we go. So to keep morale up so that our soldiers stay positive and enthusiastic.
How do you spell that? Did you say to keep more out or what?
Morale.
Morale. How do you spell that?
Yes, morale. MORALE, morale. And morale is just a fancy way of saying attitude and mindset, to keep our attitude and mindset positive. All right, let's move on to 21. Why did President Wilson propose his 14 points? World peace. That's your answer. 2 words. World peace. He's very much a Miss America contestant. All right, world peace. He wants world peace. 22, what countries were involved in the Paris Peace Conference in 1919? What country was not invited to participate and why? I'm going to go backwards really quick so you can see how to spell all of them. So here they are, the big 4. It's on your screen if you can see it. Wilson with the U.S., King George with Great Britain, Clément with France, and Italy with Orlando. So you don't have to put the people, but do make sure you list out the countries. And then part 2 to that is who's not invited. The Central Powers right here. Central Powers are not invited. Russia's not invited. And why? Russia is pulls out of the war and Central Powers are the losers. So that's why. Last but not least, 23 says, what 2 groups in the U.S. Senate were opposed to the Treaty of Versailles and refused to ratify it and why? So hopefully you already know, thanks to civics, that it is the Senate that has to approve a treaty. So here you go. Look at your screen. This is how you spell it. It's the irreconcilables and the reservationists. There's your 2 groups. All right, it's highlighted in red. Irreconcilables and reservationists. So the irreconcilables thought that it changed nothing, that it's the treaty, they're talking about the treaty, that the treaty didn't do anything to help, and the reservationists thought that it was too harsh. They thought that all of the things put on Germany, it was too much and would potentially cause another world war, which is true. All right, the IDs, armistice means ceasefire or stop fighting. National self-determination is just the idea that people can create their own, you know, like ethnic groups can create their own country. League of Nations, peacekeeping organization. And reparations just means payment for damage, really. All right, anybody have any questions on any of that before I go to your packet, and then we'll wrap up for today? Okay, all right, I'm going to stop sharing. I just want to make sure you guys could see how to spell some of those things. All right, in the packet, we're guided reading 16-3. Again, if you missed 16-2, go back and get caught up from the video. All right, let's get going. Section 1, combat in World War I. Just throwing this out there. There's not a whole lot that I'm going to skip today, but I will let you know if there is something, okay? All right, section 1, how did soldiers protect themselves from the powerful artillery fire during World War I? Trenches, that's your answer. Trenches. We're going to stay in the trenches to keep our soldiers safe, to hide our soldiers during heavy artillery. All right, next, what other dangers did the troops find behind the trenches? Faith, in your packet, it's guided reading 16-3. It should be the second to the last page. And this is section 1, question B. What other dangers did troops behind the trenches face? intense warfare, airplane, fire, craters from artillery. I don't know. Just pick a couple of things. One thing's good enough. All right. Heavy machine fire, airplane, bombings. All right. Let's see. C. Why did sides begin to develop new technology? Better technology, win the war, right? That's the connection. Whoever has the better technology will win the war. Let's see. Yeah, let's go ahead to the next one. What new technology did the Germans introduce at the Second Battle of the Alps? Poisonous gas. Poisonous gas. All right, and I think this is, hold on. I'm kind of flipping back and forth between the two. All right, last question, section 1. What two military vehicles are introduced during World War I? Zeppelins, which is a German vehicle. Zeppelins, that's Zeppelins, Zeppelins, and airplanes. And yes, they are considering airplanes to be military vehicles. They are the vehicle of the sky. All right, section 2, the Americans arrive. 1 says, or A, who was responsible for preventing any American ships from being sunk on their way to Europe? And that is Admiral Sims. Admiral is A-D-M-I-R-A-L, Admiral Sims, and Sims is S-I-M-S, Sims, Admiral Sims. All right, next, B, what was Vladimir Lenin's first act after seizing power in Russia in 1917? To pull Russia out. That was his first decision. Pull Russia out. All right, skip C, go to D. Who organized the most massive attack in American history, which caused the Germans to begin to retreat in September of 1918? That is General Pershing. Pershing is P-E-R-S-H-I-N-G. General Pershing. All right, last question in section 2. Which American hero who originally tried to avoid the draft took command during the Battle of the Argonne Forest? That is Alvin York. Alvin York. A-L-V-I-N. York is Y-O-R-K. Alvin York. All right, last but not least, section 3. Excuse me. Oh, man. Okay. Section 3. A flawed peace. A, who were the principal figures in the post-war negotiations? We looked at that in your Google slides. So you've got King George from Great Britain, Wilson from the U.S., Clément from France, and Orlando from Italy. So there's 4.
How do you spell the one before the Orlando?
Clément is C-L-E-M. I should have wrote that down when I had it pulled up because now I can't remember. C-E-A-U, maybe. I'm trying to remember without having it pulled up, but you should have that answer. Maybe you wrote it down in your IDs. I don't remember. But if not, that's close enough. Okay. B, what was the purpose of Wilson's 14 points? World peace. 2 words. World peace. All right. C, why did some Allied leaders criticize Wilson's 14 points? Didn't place blame on Germany. That's good enough. Did not place blame on Germany. They thought that it didn't do enough to make Germany pay for World War I. And last but not least, D says, what happened to Germany under the Treaty of Versailles? Try and give me at least two, if you can squeeze in a couple of reasons. Pay war reparations. Reparations mean damages, pay for damages. Demilitarize, accept blame for the war. There's three. Give me two out of those three. Okay. They wanted them to pay $33 billion in war reparations, which obviously they did not have after financing a major world war. They wanted them to pay war reparations, demilitarize, no Air Force, no more U-boats, demilitarize, completely cut down their weapons supply, accept blame for the war. They're the ones that started the fighting, so they want them to accept blame for the war. And that's it. So let me check the chat because I think I missed something a second ago. But that's all I got for you today. If you have a question or you need me, stay on. If not, then I will let you go and enjoy the rest of your Monday. Let's see. Faith said the answer to section 1, answer 1. Are you talking about in the packet, or do you mean the IDs? Okay, in the packet, trench warfare is the answer for number 1. Trench warfare, or trenches, whichever. Okay.
What is the answer for 26 in the IDs?
Can you read me the question because I don't have it pulled up?
League of Nations.
Wait, read
The IDs, League of Nations.
Oh, you want to know what we put for the definition?
Yeah.
Okay. World Peacekeeping Organization.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right. Like I said, guys, that's it. I'm done for today. Don't forget, juniors are testing tomorrow. No live Zoom tomorrow. We will live Zoom again, or if you're a 4-day or B day, I'll see you in person on Wednesday, and I'm super excited about that. Otherwise, bye guys. Stay on if you need me.